No way you're replicating that move. And if you are, I want to see in 2025. I mean, that shit was dope as fuck.
The amount of moves right here makes the.
And when this shit happened right here, I was like, I bet this shit will be all over TikTok in 20 minutes. And then sure enough, it was. When that shit happened, when this shit happened right here, you had to be there. I'm gonna be looking at my grandkids and be like, you wasn't there. But Saquon Barkley hurdled over a whole truck. That was real football back in my day. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say. For real. That was like, this shit will remember for the next 100 years. Like, this shit will be in a museum. Type of deal.
Got missed. The spin move at the last second. Bro. And then, what, Tiki, you're right. What is that?
Bro, he turned around and jumped over him.
With 6 different receivers, and this time he won.
Picked off.
Picked off at the goal line. That's Buda
running.
Baker. Buda Baker out in front. Can Metcalf track him down? Can he chase him down? And he
oh my God. I can't even run like that now. And I know your Metcalf. Jesus, this is why the 40-yard dash is so important. That is why. That's a prime example why that 40-yard dash is so important when they recruit niggas. Because scouts could be looking at him and they're gonna try to get him on their team. Off of this clip right here. That was insane. That nigga was in the back of the lineup.
To save a touchdown.
And Metcalf just refused
Probably as a fucking touchdown. You already have niggas over here
to let it go. It was unbelievable how much ground he made up. That had to be 10 yards on a very fast Buda Baker, and he just tracked him down.
4-man rush. Rodgers to the end zone. And Wilson. Can he one-handed and stay in bounds?
The left shin hit the ground inbounds before the knee hit out of bounds. It is a touchdown.
Every yard, I mean, they're having to earn every bit of it. Walker out of the backfield, flag down on the far side of the field. They're letting this play go. For now, Walker's got a first down. He was brought down, but evidently wasn't down by contact, but a flag is down on the far side of the field.
Action. And Manning's going to heave one. There's a flag. Beckham, a one-handed catch. How in the world?
Oh, my goodness.
And Brandon Carr was back there. I mean, he is insane. How do you make that catch?
Oh, my goodness.
On the move, down the sideline, and reaching up for it is George Pickens.
What a catch with the right hand by George Pickens. This is a guy that's known when he was in college at Georgia. Vertical, stretch the defense, make plays, incredible ball skills. And he says, shh, quiet.
Gain of 36.
Go. Pretty good coverage by the rookie corner. But just
Drive starts at the 1 and looking for a little breathing room. And
if I was the coach and I saw this shit right here, everybody doing 20 laps. Everybody is. I don't give a fuck. We're gonna stay here all day until you do the whole 20. And you better be running. That was insane. The fact they let this man run 99 yards. It's insane. Damn. Yeah, he needs to go see the hospital. He needs to see the hospital. He needs to see the hospital. Yeah, you better do that, cause nigga, if that was me, nigga, I'm fighting you.
Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's caught.
That was a crazy Hail Mary. That was a crazy Hail Mary, bro. Crazy Hail Mary. I
It's caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Miraculous.
Davius White. Jordan Poyer came in late. He's got Micah Hyde on his back and catches it and possesses it all the way through. Look at those hands. We keep hearing about those 6X gloves that he wears for his large hands.
I look like a psycho. I'm just gonna keep my helmet on for the rest of the game. Yeah, I'm the smart guy that headbutts someone with no helmet on.
Has 34. Second and goal. Mahomes, flip it underneath. McKinnon turns it upfield, dives, touchdown.
If that was me,
And someone keep an eye on
this. Fucking kneecap would have been gone. My whole kneecap would have been gone right there.
This guy right here, Trey Smith. A tremendous block on the Pro Bowl All-Pro safety, Justin Simmons, that opens up the last bit of pathway.
3rd and 6. Breeze plus. Oh, he shoveled it behind the back to Thomas. What a completion by Breeze. That's the best no gain of the year.
And watch Drew Brees somehow flip this ball to Pierre Thomas. The question is, how was Pierre Thomas expecting that?
Wow. For Ronald Jones, that's a great start.
Brady is taken down. Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack steps up and gets a sack.
Yeah, against the rookie, Tristan Wirfs, and he's able to work around him and get to Brady. He's got him one-on-one. I mean, he's had his hands full here to start his career. He gets bodies.
Now trying to contain Fields. Looking for N'Keal Harry! What a catch! Inside the Packers.
See, that nigga was just running. He was just running with him. He had no sexual awareness. He let that shit happen.
The Saints have the ball. Oh, look at this run. What a run. Marshawn Lynch. Still on his feet. Has blockers now. He's dancing his way to the touchdown.
He breaks the tackle of Shanley, runs through Sharper, runs through Adele, runs through Jabari Greer. Get off me, he says to Tracy Borders.
It's a 2nd down and 3. Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh, he broke his ankles. Now he's got an entourage.
This is a QB. This is what fucking Atlanta Falcons need. A QB just like this. This is what we need. I'm jealous of hell's a Raven, bro. Every time I see fucking Raven, I get so fucking jealous, bro. Because they have the best QB, arguably. Right now, that still has potential to grow to be a Hall of Famer, which he probably will. I bet my money on it. I'm so jealous because the Ravens have the best QB currently. I'll say tops. KC only got 2 more years left. Realistically, they got two more years, maybe 3, and then Mahomes will be done. I can guarantee you that. Now, Mahomes is currently, I would say he will be a Hall of Famer, which I think he already, I don't know. But he is definitely the best QB that we ever had in this generation. But besides Tom Brady and Matt Ryan. And Peyton Manning. But Mahomes is definitely up there now. He definitely is.
And he's got a touchdown. He is Houdini.
Talk about a tough tackle in the open field. Look at that spin move. Nick Vigil's right there. He leads the team in tackles, and he's got no clue as to
leg against the speed of Michael Vick.
He's replaced by Rasmussen. Vick running was tripped up. And he is down at the 46-yard line.
You don't tackle Mike Vick. It's a mistake.
23-yard line. Thigpen goes to work. A quick hitter to Charles. Jamal Charles breaks into the clear at the 50. He has the speed. Can they catch him? 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Oh, he's tripped up.
Hold on. Wait, because
the 2-yard line by Jeremiah.
That defender right there. Now that is playing the game because of that defender right there.
Bell saves the touchdown. Charles with one of the longest runs of the season for the
blitz coming. Oh, what a catch by Evans, and he stays up for a couple extra yards. One-handed grab with Reed Blankenship all over him.
Oh my God, bro! The Saquon Barkley. That was the first clip, but I still remember that shit, bro. That is arguably the best play I've ever seen, for real. Speaking of big ass niggas in football, actually, I don't think he even played football. Juicy, bro. Juicy. That nigga, I heard he pulled out another video, so I gotta watch that. I gotta watch Juicy do video. I gotta watch that. But, actually, you know what? I'll just play it. Because I'm about to say I need to use the bathroom. I'll just play it. And then I'll hold it. And then I'll hold it.
Season 2.
Drewski doing this shit again, man. I ain't putting up with no bullshit.
What is Unc so feisty for?
I ain't gonna hurt him again. I ain't kinda him. We're outside and fully active. Yeah, that.
This episode of Could Have Been House is brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers.
So keep my name out your mouth. You good?
Little gassy. Bring your bags with you because you might be going home.
You real up here. Take it down here.
No, I'm gonna stay up here.
Can't nobody come in the house yet. You better tell them right now.
You leaving. Last 2 years, you would not have a sleeping bag. You can't go in this.
Bro, this shit reminds me of my BMT. This shit reminds me of my BMT, bro. BMT, I'm not gonna lie, it's like the funniest place that you cannot laugh at. Like, I'm telling you, bro, BMT is a different breed, bro. At first week of BMT. First week of BMT, it's really not even that bad. It is probably the worst week you would have, but honestly, looking back at it, it wasn't even really that bad. It was just all yelling. It was literally all yelling. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? BMT literally, they're chill as fuck. They're chill as hell. After week two, bro, they're chill as fuck. I remember my first time BMT, bro. I was scared shitless because it was my first time being at the house. Like, I didn't go to college. It was my first time being at the house. So I was like, I don't really know about this. You know, this could be a long ass sleepover. That's what I kept saying. That's what I kept saying in my head. This could be a long ass sleepover. Like, BMT, you were sleeping with 40 grown ass men, bro. And 20 of them are about your age, and 20 of them are about fucking 30, 31, 27, 29. Niggas who have a lot more life experience than you at 18. But I remember my first night, bro. I went to sleep. Oh, actually, no. I got there at 9 p.m. I remember this shit clear as day. I got there at 9 p.m. Or was it 9 p.m.? I think it was like 10 p.m. 10 p.m. And I think we were like one of the final buses that was coming to BMT that day or that week. Because they have graduating classes. Like class of 2020, class of 2019, stuff like that. But we were the last bus for that week. We went to the podium or atrium. That's where they were holding all the cadets at. And they were like all waiting for everybody to get there. Because BMT really doesn't start until everybody get there. Everybody. And it's honestly really, really smart how they do it too. It's really smart. Because if everybody has their flight and you just go ahead and start BMT, it is unfair that they get more sleep, better rest, everything. Like it's like more favoritism to that flight if you first get there, rather than everybody just get there. So that's really smart of them doing that. They wait till everybody gets there, and then they give a whole briefing to everybody. And I heard niggas was there since 6 a.m. Keep that in mind. Niggas first arrived at BMT at 6 p.m. I got there around 10:30. Nigga, if I was sitting in that atrium for that long, bro, I probably would have walked off. I'm not gonna cap. I was like, damn, how the fuck are you here? You been here since 6? What the fuck you been doing this whole time? But yeah, anyway, I was sitting down, and they were like, hey, read your book, because they gave you a training guide it's like a little booklet for the fucking EOC test you gotta take at the end of the 7 weeks. And so like they give you the book. It's like, hey, sit down. Here's your bag. Here's your book. Sit down, read until everybody gets here. I was like, all right, bet. I was like, we're probably one of the last buses, because that's what we heard. That's what the rumors we heard. We were one of the last buses. No, the fuck we weren't. No, the fuck we weren't. But guess what time we went upstairs? Nigga, we went upstairs at 4 a.m. in the morning. Yes, 4 a.m. I felt bad for the niggas who was there since 6 p.m. I was like, damn, you've been sitting for nearly 12 fucking hours. I've been sitting here for fucking 6 hours. Waiting for fucking more people to come. And literally 3 buses. It was literally just 3 buses that came after me. So how the fuck did I get upstairs at 4 p.m. or 4 a.m.? Anyway, yeah, they gave us a whole briefing. We went upstairs at 4 a.m. And they were like, all right, get situated. So we put everybody putting their shit in their little lockers and drawers and the MTI. So giving the little briefings about them. Like, hey, this is Staff Sergeant, I don't know, Cadell, and this is Staff Sergeant Womble. All right. You gonna listen to us the whole fucking time. There's no one else. I was like, cool. When the fuck am I going to sleep? Because it's 4 a.m., nigga. I don't want to hear you. And they're like, everybody get in the showers. And then that was probably the worst part. I'm not gonna lie. The first day you shower with fucking 40 girls is the worst day. It was the worst day. I was like, I'm not gonna shower these niggas. So first I peeked inside. That sounds gay. But I did peek inside. I was like, okay, what are these niggas like going in with? Because no one like was fully undressed. Everybody had like their boxers on or some sandals on when they went in the bathroom. So I was like, okay, maybe just have the drawers on. We're just gonna pull our drawers and like wash ourselves on their drawers. And then I peeked in the shower a little bit because for honestly, everybody still got drawers on. No, niggas were butt ass naked. I said, oh no. The first day I'm out of my fucking house, I have to have a 7-week sleepover with 40 grown men, have to shower naked with them. I said, I'm not gonna like this shit. So anyway, everybody got done showering and shit like that. I went to bed at 5 p.m. That's when they shut off the lights. 5 p.m. So everybody had an hour to shower, get changed. At 5 p.m. they shut off the lights. Tell me why they woke us up at 6:30. It was like 6:30 or 7. So it was like literally 1 to 2 hours of sleep. I forgot, it was like 4 years ago. It was like 1 to 2 hours of sleep. I was pissed as fuck. I was like, I'm not gonna operate today. Ain't no way you waking us up this early. the stories I've been told, y'all, I heard y'all won't waking up people until 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. So we're just different. I was so pissed, bro, because I literally like just shut my eyes, bro. I just shut my eyes. He just woke me up, and it wasn't like a great wake up too. No, it was the first day, the first real day. So they came in. I remember that shit. They came in banging on walls like that. That's what you boom, 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 boom. I said, here we go. I said, here we go. And all the first MTI I saw, it wasn't the same MTIs as last time. The first MTI I saw was I'm not even kidding you, it was a 6'7" big buff black nigga, bro. It was a big black dude. I'm not joking. That was his real height. He was like 6'7". That was the first MTI I saw besides the last two last night, which I thought they were like, oh, they're just going to every flight and saying this shit. No, I thought that was my MTI for the next 7 weeks. I was scared shitless, nigga. I literally was out of my bed shaking my knee. My knees were shaking. It was uncontrollable. And it wasn't just me. Like, I knew this shit was like real when I was across my the guy across from me, my bunk roommate, the guy across from me, his knees were shaking too. I was like, oh no. I looked to the right, everybody's knees were shaking. Mine was shaking too. It was a little bit. It wasn't crazy like theirs. It was like those knees were shaking. Now mine was like a little bit. I was like, oh no, everybody's scared because you just see a big 6'7" black dude, buff as shit, just standing staring. That was the hardest flick someone could have took. He was insane shit. On the other bay, you could hear all the MTIs yelling. Because he was like, get the hell up. That's all he said. And then once everybody got up, shaking and shit, all he did was fucking stare. I was like, oh no, I'm about to hate this shit. I said, oh no, I'm about to hate this shit. And so I'm like, all right, cool, get dressed. The outfit of the day, right? They do outfit of the day every day. Tell you what to wear. Outfit of the day is PT clothes. If you know what PT clothes are, it is your fitness, physical training clothes. And we were like, what the fuck is that? And we were like, oh, it's the gray and blue shorts or gray and blue pants. So everybody got the PT shorts on, and then we went straight to breakfast. After breakfast, we went straight to training. Like, after breakfast, we literally went straight to training. Bro, I remember the first week. First week was a low-key kind of ass. It was low-key kind of ass, but it was like, it wasn't even that bad. Now looking back at it. Like, now doing, if I would do that shit again, like, I probably would. As long as you can get through the first 2 weeks of basic training, bro. Like, the rest of the weeks are cakewalk. It's literally the same training every day or every week. It's literally the same training. The training is the end for BMT. And then, oh my God, the proudest moment of BMT is when you get your uniform, like Juicy right now. I think that's the same exact uniform. You get that shit. I don't know where the fuck he found a 2XXL. I don't know where the fuck he found that. But yeah, the proudest moment is week 5 when I got my uniform. That shit hits. That shit was special. I'm not gonna lie. I know Army, they give that shit like before you go in. But Air Force, you have to wait a couple weeks because they're not giving out uniforms, right? Because people fail a lot. People fail out of training, BMT, people quit. I remember it was in the first 2 weeks. It was the first week. I think it was like day 4. And this was COVID, when I went in COVID times. We were going for shots. And my MTI was yelling at, let's just call him Ryan. I forgot the nickname. That's how early he left. Until I was yelling at Ryan about him not walking straight. That walk was pretty easy. It was pretty. They taught us the first 3 days. I think everybody in my flight got it down pretty quick. He can walk straight, so my NTI was yelling at him. Get in line, get in line, get in line. That nigga said, fuck this. I'm fucking tired of this. I'm tired of everybody yelling at me. I can't do this shit. And the NTIs can't baby you. It's not an emotion you show new recruits. Cause at first they think, oh, you all hard and shit like that. All right, like I'm gonna listen to you. But once they start babying you, especially the first 3 weeks, they're not gonna think of you the same, right? So they have to keep up the energy of being hard on you. And then she was like, "Oh, you a quitter? Oh, you a quitter?" And then I was like, "Oh shit!" and then all the flights have 2 MTIs to keep track of 40 people. You have to have at least 2 or 3. So the first MTI was, he saw that shit. He was like, "Everybody, turn the fuck around, keep on walking." But no shit, we heard everything as we kept walking. So we were walking pretty slow. I kid you not. The second MTI that was yelling at Ryan was still yelling at him. I was walking, and then I heard 3 more voices. So that means 3 more MTIs, 4 in total, came up to him and yelling at that nigga. "Oh, we got a quitter. Oh, we got a quitter. You can't even fucking walk. You gonna quit because you can't walk. You gonna walk. You gonna walk right now. You gonna walk or do some push-ups." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And then like Ryan said, 10 toes down. I said, "Oh, this nigga a real G." That if we were talking about real G's in this world, that nigga was Ryan was a real G. He said, "Fuck this. I ain't doing shit. You telling me?" I said, "Oh my Lord, what is going to happen?" I said, "What is going to happen?" Everybody was literally eavesdropping. We were walking pretty slow. We haven't learned double time. Double time is when you run in a formation. We haven't learned double time yet, so they can't say double time because no one knew what the fuck that was. So we kept walking, and our walk was pretty slow. I'm not gonna hold you. It's 40 fucking people. You're not gonna keep that shit fast. So we kept hearing it as we get further and further. That's how loud they are. You can hear that shit fucking a mile away when they yell. And we were like hearing everything. And that nigga was like, "No, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Get me the fuck out of here." I said, "Oh my God." Y'all, we didn't even see that nigga leave. That's how fast they packed that nigga up and kicked him out. They kicked him out so fucking fast. I never seen that shit before. I think we had like one more person fail out of BMT in my flight. I believe. Yeah, because he left. Yeah, because he left. No, like getting kicked out your flight, that takes like a good 2 to 3 hours. So you gotta pack everything up. You gotta find your bag from the pile of suitcases from the back, and make sure you have everything in that suitcase, because niggas can't say or come back, "Oh, the airport's lost my clothing or this designer bag in my suitcase." No, they have to like go through their bag and verbally say, "Yes, everything's in there," before you go. So he had to find his bag in a pile. I ain't kidding you, of suitcases, and that pile was fucking stacked to the top for the first day. They didn't even say do that shit clean. Actually, no, they did. They said do that shit cleanly. But after we finished, oh no, that pile was fucking huge. It was fucking huge, bro. And that storage key was locked. We never seen our room again until the last day. Oh my gosh, the last day of BNT. When I first opened that room with a pile of suitcases, bro, I almost teared up. Like literally, just that action of you opening the door and seeing your suitcase again from the first day you went to BMT, it was honestly special. Cause like, damn, I remember my first day. That nigga right there told me to put my bag in this closet. We have 45 seconds to stack 40 fucking suitcases. And now I'm able to. And now it was like a sense of. It was a sense of completion. That was a real completion. Seeing your suitcase again, because it was like, you grab me your suitcase, like, bro, you're leaving. You're leaving. Like it was literally so sad. It was so sad. Like no one, I tell you, bro, after BMT, bro, no one wanted to fucking leave. No one wanted to leave. I was literally at my bed, just staring. I was just staring around the room like this. I was like, this is really it. Like this is my whole memory I have for the past 3 months. Like all these niggas I came in with, half of them left. I was tearing up because that nigga left. My nigga Plant left, bro. Oh my god, I was so sad. I was so devastated. It literally felt like I lost a brother, cause that's how close you get with the people there. You get so close. It was supposed to real shit. You get so close with the niggas at BMT, bro. Like you will remember them for the rest of your days, bro. I was literally at my bed at BMT crying on my last day, cause I didn't want to fucking leave, and that was the craziest statement I thought I would never say before going in. I was like, I'm gonna do my little 7 weeks, get the fuck out. No, my last day, bro, I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay for real, cause I would never, to this day, never laugh as hard as I did back in 2020. That and then COVID times made it better. Low key niggas were always hating on me for going at COVID times. I could have changed it. I was not going to college. I had to go to BUT. I could have changed it. It was canon. But niggas were hating on like, oh, you do gotcha, bro. Oh, you didn't have that good of a BNT. You didn't have a real BNT experience. No. COVID times made my BMT fucking special, bro. COVID time made my BMT special. Because I think it made everybody even closer than it would for regular BMT. Not for real to say that. Because all the training is 10 times harder. Think about that. All the trainings. And then the mentorship is 10 times harder. We had niggas had to leave BMT because they were so sick. That was from some of the flights. We had some I think we had like 3 in total for the whole 3 months. They had to leave the flight because they had to go to medic because they had COVID. And then you were like, damn, like that was for my nigga, bro. That was like we were always like saying for training, this is for Skiff. This is for Skiff. Let's do this shit, guys. Let's do this shit. Let's do it for Skiff. And then everybody like, yeah, for Skiff. Like that's how close we were. That's how close we were. Oh my god. And then not only the training was harder during COVID times, bro, you had to run for 25 minutes. And 25 minutes is a long ass time. It was a big ass lap too. It wasn't no small lap. No, this lap was big as hell. We had to run for 25 minutes. And mask, bro. And mask. Think about that shit. Some days, and this is the beginning of BMT. At the end, they're like, okay, no, we're wrong. Run without the mask, but put it on afterward. But at the beginning, bro, they had everybody run in mask. My mask was soaking. And then you can't even take it down because the niggas were yelling at me. Niggas were yelling at you. They're, oh no, put your mask up. It's like, bro, I've been running for fucking 25 minutes, bro. I've been running for 25 minutes. You expect me to fucking breathe with my mask on for 25 minutes. But no one, like, everybody knew what COVID was because it was in the 2020. So yeah, everybody had a good sense. But like when it came to like BMT, I think they were still trying to figure some shit out. I truly believe they're still trying to figure some shit out. And like 2021, then I heard they really got it down. Yeah, BMT was a time, bro. Like I would definitely go back with the same flight. Because it wouldn't be the same if I had the flight. Sure, I would make connections, but it just wouldn't hit the same. If I had the same flight, bro, it wouldn't hit the same. And shout out to the gay niggas, bro. I'm not gonna lie, the gay people and BMT, kudos, bro. Kudos. We had one gay person in flight. We didn't like no diddy shit, like no AO shit. Like he really like didn't get like what's the word? Happy. You know what I'm saying? You know when I say that. He never for the whole 3 months he never felt like that. Never. And then NBO2 we're like, damn, like we knew like he was really gay. We're like, damn, like nigga, we were actually proud of you. Like we thought when we first saw you, like you would get like happy at least 2-3 times a day. We never see that nigga get happy. Ever. We actually congratulated him because like, damn, like nigga, you really had it tough here. He was like, yeah, I had it fucking tough. We were like, all right, nigga. Oh my god. And then the shit we do, my flight was a fucking trouble. Badass little kids, bro. I'm not gonna lie. We was on bad kids, bro. Like we heard flight 169, bro. We was on bad kids, bro. I remember it was lunchtime, right before physical training. We saw this fine ass girl, bro. She was fine as fuck, bro. I'm telling you. We saw her, and then I was so jealous because I didn't get to sit with her. And then BMT, you can't talk to girls at all. Like, the time I went, I think now you can, because I think now it's integrated with guys and girls, like training wise. But the time I went, no, girls and guys couldn't talk at all. If you were caught staring at a girl, bro, oh my god, it would be even worse. That MTI would yell your name, get the other MTI that's leading the girl group, she would have to pause her flight. So the whole fucking 50-40 girls had to stop in formation. And the hot ass sun pull that one girl that nigga was staring at. And it'd be some random ass girls. They didn't know who he's really looking at. They just know he's looking at girls. So they would just pull some random ass girl out of formation. And then our MTI called that nigga out. He said, "Oh, you staring at her." He said, "Oh, you staring at that girl, huh? You staring at that girl, huh?" And that nigga was like, "No, that's what he literally say. I'm not saying. I'm not. I swear." And then that girl MTI was like, "Oh, so if I catch you in the dorms, I'm not gonna kick you out. I'm gonna kick your ass." I was like, "Oh my lord." I was like, "Oh, they're serious about not looking at girls." I said, "Oh, they're serious. They're serious." They were on that nigga's head for 5 minutes, bro. I can't do that for 5 minutes. And then when we sat down, bro, you have to sit in a formation wise. Someone has to like direct you in formation. hey, sit over there. You sit in the back. You sit in the front. You sit in the back. You sit in the front. That's literally how it goes. And then that's the only time you can actually talk to girls in BMT. The only time, if you had that one duty. And if a girl was on that side or came to that side because the other side was full. I was literally one table off from sitting with that girl. That girl's hot as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. My nigga, but my buddy, he sat across from the girl. Literally, like, you're like face to face with the fucking trainee. Like, you're so close. The table was small as fuck. So I don't know how the fuck the trays fit on there. I bet they barely even fit. So literally, like, I was like, oh my God, nigga, you gotta talk to her. I was giving him the look. I was low key giving him the look. I was like, hey nigga, just, talk to her. He was like, nah. Like, and the girl heard everything we were saying. Like, she wasn't fucking dumb. Like, we knew girls were there were fucking horny. And the boys were horny. We were fucking 18 too. We didn't give a fuck. But no, he was like, nah, like, he's like, yeah, I got a girlfriend at home. That's what niggas was do. That's what niggas would do. If you said they got a girlfriend or they like point to the ring, knowing they were not a wife. But they were like, oh no, like, no, I'm taking him. That's what he did. I'm taking. So I was like, oh fuck, okay. So I literally looked to my other bad buddy across. I kid you not, he was 2 tables down. 2 tables down, bro. And the snake pit. If you know what snake pit is, that is a table full of MTIs. The snake pit was across the room. They could still see everything we're doing. I don't know how they did not see us when we did all this. But my buddy was 2 tables down. He was low key looking at the girl too. I saw his eyes. And then our eyes met each other. We were like, and I was like, you go talk to her. Like, I did that. I was like, And he was like, all right, bet. And then I was like, that's what he did. He said, I tried to say number, but I couldn't say number. So that nigga got up, and I tell you, that nigga, he is a real OG. Like, he is a gangster for doing this shit. He avoided the snake pit full of MCIs. MTIs are standing up, looking at the whole crowd. But they didn't see this nigga. He got out of his chair, crawled 3 fucking tables down. 3 tables down. And got that girl's digits. I was like, this can't be true. There's no way. There is no way. When the girl accepted the napkin, she was like, and then I was like, that's what I did. That's what I did. I said this. And I reached back. I act like I was getting something, or like, no. I act like I dropped something. I remember I had a pen. In the very back pocket. So I was like, I snuck the pen out of my book bag. And I threw it towards the nigga. I threw it towards the nigga. Or I like set it down, like slid it over to him. And he crawled back, got the pen. And that girl wrote her digits on that fucking napkin, bro. I was like, no way. I was like, no way she's actually giving this nigga her number, bro. She gave him her number. And then the nigga had to crawl 3 tables back. Again, avoiding the snake pit. That was like Hall of Fame type level of game. That was like legendary. We were talking about that shit for the rest of the time we were there. That was a legend. I don't think MTIs do it too. I low-key think MTIs knew about it. Because they had cameras in that cafeteria. And they had a hub, a central building. This full MTIs, barely any trainees. If there was trainees there, they're only there to clean. And in that hub, it was just a whole bunch of people just watching cameras. I kid you not. There's a whole bunch of people watching cameras. That's all it was. So I was like, there's no way these MTIs just let him go like that. I was like, they have to be coming for this nigga's neck in the next 2-3 days. They have to be. Because they always will. They will come back. If they don't catch you that day, they will come back. They will find your ass and come back and cook the whole flight. I think we had one instance. Yes. It was, I think it was photo day. So we took our professional military photos. This is like stuff you will see on your record for the rest of the time you're on Earth. I mean, they pull your record, military career. It was literally a professional military photo. PA, Public Affairs, came through to take more photos of the flight. So this stuff would go into your BMT book that you receive. Right? This is towards your flight only. What happened? What happened again? We were taking photos. I think we were taking photos, and I think, what happened? We got in really big trouble. That's all I know. It was some dumb shit too. No, it was like a whole case. Like they literally were tracking whoever did this down. I think it was an inappropriate picture. That's what I think it was. I think it was an inappropriate picture. I think if someone was doing something in the picture that was so inappropriate. And not only that, I think they were like secretly talking to the PA, which was a girl. She was a girl. So we were secretly talking to her, and they were doing something really inappropriate. It was something really inappropriate in the picture. But I think it was so bad too, because it was not only only time another intern had to come up to a room. There was a time, and I think I was guilty of this. I'm not gonna lie, I was guilty of this. It was me and my bad buddy. It was Sunday. We were cleaning, and on Sundays there's no MTIs. It was your flight leader, your trainee leader, have to direct the whole flight what to do. Oh, so we were like, okay, cool. We have no MTIs. We sleeping the whole day. As long as we get our chores done, we're good. That's what we did. We got our chores done. But I was doing my chores. I think I got done. I had no chores throughout the whole time, BT. I kid you not. I had no chores. All I had to do was fucking, like, not even mop the floor, not sweep the floor, but dust the fucking floor. Everybody had to fucking sweep under the desk. My bad buddy had to sweep under my desk. My bunk bed. Not desk, but bunk bed. And they had to mop all the floors and under my bunk bed too. My floor. But before they mop, I had to dust all the dust or all the trash. That's all I did. And it was like so fucking easy too. Because it was like a big ass broom. It was like 20 inches long. Not even that. It was way longer than that. So it was literally like one sweep. I didn't have to come back at all for a second sweep. That's how long the broom was. So I literally just grabbed the broom. MTIs were like, hey, Moose, or hey, Musanda. Dust. I was like, all right, bet. I get out my formation. I grabbed the broom. And I dusted 2 bays. It was literally floop, and then take the turn to the other bay, floop, and then someone would be at the trash can ready for me to pick up the trash. That was it. That's all I did. That was literally no chores. Everybody else had to clean lockers and shit like that, and the whole bathroom, and do laundry, shit like that. All I had to do was fucking dust 2 bays. That takes 20 seconds. Max. It was the easiest fucking job. Easiest fucking job. But on the contrary, I did have the worst job in DT. I did also have the workshop. So that was my dusting the floors. Was my, I want to say, indoor chores. There was outside chores too, right? Or there's more chores than that. It's not really separate about indoors and outdoors. But there's a whole list of stuff you have to do or you can pick to do. I had two because I had that chore, but they wanted me to do something else because my job was really too easy and everybody else had a job and I didn't. But no one had this one specific job and they made me choose it. It was being a fucking child runner. And for years, for centuries, every trainee will tell you before you go to BMT, do not pick child runner. Do not pick. And of course, I fucking get it. I didn't know what the fuck a child runner was. They always explained it to me. It was like something eating. Like you have to walk in formation eating. I'm like, walk in formation eating. But that's just fucking BMT. No, it's completely different. Being a child runner is you leading your flight to lunch or breakfast, lunch, and dinner down to the cafeteria, and you have to halt your flight. Or no, the flight leader halts your flight. I have to step out of formation perfectly. Like, I can't mess it up. Like, I have to, 45-degree angle, walk, 45-degree angle, continue walking all the way down. That's what I did. Once you get in the front of the flight, I turn around. And then I have to yell. I have to yell at my MTI. Because the MTIs, at this point, the MTIs are not cool. Everybody knows every job. Everybody knows every lingo, every language. They already know the military language. So they just let the airmen do it. And if they want to correct something, they yell at you. Right? So that's what they do at that point. They yell at you to correct stuff. They don't yell at you all the time like the first 2 weeks. So the MTI came up. And he was walking fucking slow as fuck. And he was like, all right, Chowder, give me a report. And I had to trainee. No, I said, no, we don't know his ranks at this point. So we just say, trainee was on a report as ordered. And he's like, give me a report, trainee. And I was like, sir, flight 1, 2, 3 are ready to dine at the facility. And then you were ready to dine at the facility. And then sometimes he'd be like, are you sure? And I'd be like, yes, sir. And he'd be like, all right. And then the MTIs would give you directions to go. And again, like I said at the beginning, the BNT is very smart. Air Force is very smart. The way they set up everything. Because they give MTIs the directions where their flight has to go. And so he already knows where the fuck we're going. So he looks at this little book. All right, I want you to go to Southwest Wing. And then we have Southwest Wing, sir. He said, yes, sir. Go. So when he says go, you have to walk inside with your other battle buddy. Because it's two people reporting. But there's really one main person actually reporting. So I walk in. I walk in the cafeteria. I go to the snake pit. Literally doing a formation. I have to walk a certain way all the way to the snake pit. If you fuck up, you walk. If you fuck up your little turn, they yell at you. So I get to the snake pit and be like, all right, flight 1, 2, 3 are ready to chow or ready. I don't know, ready for something, ready to eat, something like that. And they'd be like, all right, sir. What did they say? Oh, they say flight 1, 2, 3, ready to chow. All right, direct them to blah blah blah. Some other directions. So then you have to remember that. You have to remember where to tell you, and it's super easy. You won't fuck it up because you're so scared. So you won't fuck it up. You won't ever fuck it up. So all right, sir. You repeat it back. Flight 1, 2, 3. Report you to blah 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 coordinates, and then you walk. And then no. Your set battle ability turns once I say the last few words, he has to know it on cue. Once I say the last few words, he turns at the last word. He starts walking, And then once I finish my sentence, I turn. It is like very smooth. It's like very seamless. So he started walking, and then I start walking. And then we go out to our flight and be like, all right, flight 129. Now we're pointing to flight. You report at blah, 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 blah. And then they actually go in. I was so good at being a trial runner. I was so good at being a trial runner. I was a trial runner the whole fucking time I was there. Typically, 99.9% of the time, you will have a different trial runner. Period. You will have a different trial runner because they want people rotating, so that everybody knows the job. They want people to rotating the whole 7 weeks. But I was so good at it. And it was not me trying to be good at it. I was just naturally good at being a trial runner. They made me stay on it for a whole 7 weeks. And this is the part I'm so pissed about to this day. I was so good at it that they said, all right, on this set, I forgot what week it was. I think it was like week 5. They said, all right, I'm not gonna be here Sunday, obviously. Until I was not there Sunday. I'm not gonna be here Sunday. I want you to lead training Sunday. Teach the whole flight how to try and run. I was like, you can't say no. So you're like, yes, sir. So literally the whole Sunday, I was teaching niggas how to walk and how to chow run. It was he wanted 4 specific people. 2 really good people, and then 2 for backup. And then I was mainly teaching them the whole day. The second child runner was teaching the whole flight. I was mainly teaching them the whole day because I was the main POC. Yeah. Let's just say that didn't go so well. The next day the MTI came in, I think that training went up to the MTI, and he was like, I can't do this. Because even Sunday, he was like, I can't do this. Like, he was getting so frustrated. So he went to MTI. He was like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, I get so nervous. I can't do this. And then he also talked to the other 3 individuals who was supposed to chow run after me. They also said they couldn't do it. They even demonstrated. And he even told me, he was like, they did good, but they're not comfortable doing trial running. And I was like, what the fuck? You the MTI. You tell them what to do, not me. But no, they're like, apparently they really didn't want to do trial running. Like, if a trainee was able to convince a fucking MTI to do a specific job, like, it had to be a horrible demonstration or like a crazy excuse or reason for them to get out of that job. So I was like, damn, if 4 niggas were able to get out of trial running, I'm fucked. So yeah, he kept me on trial running for the whole fucking 7 weeks. I was so fucking good, bro. Literally, I think I had 2 mess ups, bro. They were literally picking on me. Bro. I remember that shit. I remember that fucking shit, bro. I'm so fucking pissed right now. I remember I went into the fucking snake table, and this day I let the second fucking trial runner be the main person because they were so tired of seeing my black ass. And then we trial run 3 times a day, mind you. So they disregarded the main person reporting. The niggas at the snake pit was like, okay. They looked at me, and they're like, hold on, trainee. We could do book bag inspections. They didn't fucking check his book bag, bro. I kid you not. They didn't fucking check his book bag. They checked my fucking book bag, bro. Nigga that was on the wall, posted up on the wall. He stood up straight. He walked over towards me. He opened that shit. I didn't take my book off. He just opened that shit on my back. Just digging in there, trying to find something. He found a rapper. Nigga, that nigga found a rapper, bro. And I remember my MTI's expression when he found that fucking rapper. Cause then it makes my MTI look bad too. So my MTI, he put his head down. He said, "Oh my god, bro! Oh, that's the funniest part of BNT. Oh my god, that nigga on that nigga expression when he found that rapper in my book bag. All he did was put his little big ass head down, and he just sighed. He said." And then he just closed his eyes because he knew what was about to come. They were fucking yelling in my ear for about 2-3 minutes. "Oh, you got a rapper. Where'd you get a fucking Hershey's rapper from?" It was a Hershey rapper. You can't have sugar in a BMT. The only sugar you're gonna get is from the main food, probably from fucking peaches and the protein bar they'll give you. That's the only sugar you'll get. So they found a candy bar wrapper in there. And I was like, "Oh, no. I got this from, I didn't really say that, but I was like, I got this from clothing when they issue your military clothes. I got this from clothing. They gave me MREs, and their MRE had a Hershey in it." And then when he heard that, he was like, "Oh." But he didn't really say, like, "Oh," he just like, "So why the fuck was it in your book bag?" And then he heard something else. He was like, why the fuck is it in your book bag? Why the fuck is it in your book bag? I was like, "Nigga, I just came from fucking clothing today, nigga." And that's when my MTI spoke up. He was like, "Chambers out of you're not gonna have a fucking rapper. You're not gonna be able to bag shit like that." Now he's trying to get them back off of me because at this point, MTIs are chill as hell. They're not trying to yell out their trainees the whole fucking time they're there. So "You're not gonna have no fucking Hershey in your book bag. Are you now, huh? Are you now, huh?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "No." He was like, "I know you just came from there, but once you eat your MRE, you throw it the fuck away." I was like, all right, damn. Like, all right, damn. They knew I was a good kid too. They knew I was a good kid because I've been reporting for them for weeks now. 3 times a fucking day. They knew my name, they knew my face, they knew my whole fucking face expressions, they knew every fucking pore on my face, nigga. They knew me. They knew me. So they were at that point. They were like, "Okay, you can go now." Like, I didn't even get in trouble. Usually when one person in the flight fucks up, the whole fucking flight is getting reprimanded. Like, everybody is getting in trouble. And something like that, having a candy bar and BMT, bro, you're getting in fucking trouble for that shit. You can't have no candy at all, no matter what. And in fact, I didn't even get in. I really didn't get in trouble. I got yelled at, and that's what you expect BMT to get fucking yelled at. That's all that happened to me. I got yelled at, and they sent me on my way. They sent me on my merry own way. I was like, okay. And then I think the MTI yelled at me at the no, he didn't yell at me. He fucking exposed me. He just told the whole flight, "Oh, whoever have candy wrappers and book bags, get it out now. Get it out now." And then everybody had to dig through the bags, get the candy wrappers out. And then surprisingly, like 2 or 3 other people had it in the flight. He was like, "Throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. You will not have any wrappers in this facility. If you did not eat it, you fucking throwing that shit away." But luckily, everybody had wrappers. So literally no one had actual candy. It was just all wrappers. Because once we were eating, bro, it was like the end of alterations. Like, literally everybody had their uniform. We're waiting on the other members in flight to have their uniforms that we'll walk back with. We were just eating. And then once we were all ready to go, we literally had no time to get everything. We literally had no time. So we just all walked back. I remember that shit, bro. But yeah, I was showering for fucking 7 weeks, bro. 7 weeks. They do my every fucking pore, bro. It was low key, and that was so sad, honestly, because on the very last day of training, I didn't even get the chow run. I got the chow run in the morning. I got the chow run at lunch. But after lunch, we had cleanup right before our dinner, and I had CQ duty at that time. So I came in chow run on the very last day, on the very last chow run that I was gonna have. It was kind of sad because I was like, damn, I was doing this shit for 7 weeks and someone else sold the show. At that point, it was so special to me. It was so special to me, bro. Now I'm about to tear up, bro. It was so special to me, bro. Because for the whole 7 weeks, the first 4 weeks, I'll say, we didn't have a chant. You get a chant after like week 5, or I think at week 5, you get a chant. First half, I didn't, and then you literally walk towards the cafeteria. They do a little report, and then beyond the other point on the other side, you see other flights with more time. So they're probably like a week fucking 5 or 6 or on their last week. And then you're in your PC clothes and they're in their military clothes. And then that was like the first week of BMT or the first half of BMT. Like you see like other members like, hey, like look at them. They're on week 7. Like they're doing it. Like you see the whole flight. And then next thing you know, you hear a chant. It's some cool ass chant that they made up. And you're like, damn, like we don't get a chant. Like when the fuck we get a chant? When the fuck we get a chant? And then we made a chant. It was the Rock chant. It's like, do you smell what the Rock is cooking? It was like that. That was our chant. And we were like, hell yeah. And then, bro, that shit was so special because that was our signature chant. And I was saying that shit for week 5 all the way to fucking week 7. And then I was like, and I always said it's so fucking cool. I always got everybody hyped. Literally every time I'll go back to the dorms, everybody fuck with me. Because my chant was dope as hell. My chant was dope as fuck, bro. And they were like, yeah, you got us hyped. Like I literally got everybody hyped to eat. That was my part. To get everybody fucking hyped. It was so fucking cool. The fucking snake pit heard us. And they always like laughing, like saying our little chant. I was like, as I'm leaving the snake pit. It's like, did we smell Rock's cookie? And then I'll be like, hell yeah. And I'll walk off. And then NTI, even our own NTI fucking chant. Like he couldn't even fucking hate. He couldn't fucking hate on our chant. That's our fucking MTI. No more NTIs would. They'd be like, that's a weak ass chant. That's why I literally heard one NTI say. I fuck with that chant. He would go up to the snake pit and like goes up to his friends. I know they're secretly friends. And be like, do you smell the Rex cooking? He's like, oh, it's like one next 3. And then like, yeah, MTI's fucked with that chant. But on the last day, I didn't get to say it on the very last chart one. I didn't get to say it. And I was so fucking pissed, bro. I remember my ass just staring out of the window, looking at my flight, because I saw them at lunch. I was like, damn. That was supposed to be me. I was so butthurt. I was really so butthurt. I should have requested someone else do CQ for real. I really should have requested. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I should have requested it. I should have been like, hey sir, it's my last chat one. I want to do it. I should have requested it. Even niggas that came back from dinner, they were like, damn, like it should have been you. And they were low-key agreeing with me. They were like, yeah, it wasn't right when they did it. They did it so horrible. And they literally say, like, you just do it. Like, you just do it so great. And now I'm helping myself up. But that's what they literally said. They're like, you really did so fucking great, bro. Like, it didn't hit. It didn't fucking hit. I was like, damn. Not the last chow run. And the last chow run is supposed to be the biggest, the loudest ever. And it's supposed to be the biggest chow run scream you'll ever hear. That is something you do on the last day. It's like an instinct thing. It's just something you just do. Supposed to be the biggest and loudest one. Even a fucking NCI was suspecting it. And whoever did it fucked it up. I even heard him from outside because I was there at them. He fucked it up. He wasn't even loud enough. Nigga, if that was me, nigga, I would have had the whole fucking 4 squads just hear that shit. Nigga, I would have been like, do you hear what the fuck the Rock is cooking? I would have said, fuck, I would have mixed some shit up, bro. I would have said, do you smell what the fuck the Rock is cooking? Nigga, I would have been yelling. Oh my God, I was pissed. Oh my, that shit is making me pissed before I go to bed right now. I'm so mad, bro. Niggas were bad. Even my NTI went up to me. He was like, why the fuck you weren't there? Not even the NTI fuck was bad. I was not there last round. I was like, sir, I had CQ duty. He was like, oh, who put you on that? I was like, Sergeant Rumble. He was like, okay. Like, it should have been you. I was like, yeah, I know, sir. I know. It should have been me. Nigga, I was so good. Everybody liked me, bro. When it came to child runners, bro, our flight was literally the cleanest, the best. Nigga, my sergeant always hyped my flight up because he always said we were the best flight when it came to formation and child running. Especially lunchtime, because we were always the cleanest flight for lunch. We always walk straight. We always follow directions. We were always a flight that let fucking MTIs cut. Like, the snake pit fucked with my flight. Heavy. They fucked with my flight. Not only because my NTI was cool as fuck. I think all the NTIs fucked with my NTI. But we just came in there clean as hell. I came in there clean as hell. The whole fucking cafeteria even heard me. That's what they told me. They're like, yeah, we always hear your flight outside. You were that loud. I was like, yeah, that's me. Like, they always know, like, Flight 169 is coming inside the fucking building. That was my fucking job, nigga. That was my baby. That shit was my baby, bro. That shit was my baby, bro. They always knew Flight 169 coming in, bro. I had a nigga that was there. He was there in my flight. He was my brother's flight. He was like, yeah, I always saw you. He was like the cleanest motherfucker that came in. Like, literally, word for word, that's what he said. He was like, yeah, your fucking turret was sharp as fuck. You always gave your report clean as hell, and you always walked off clean as hell. We always heard your flight coming in because you always yelled. Out of my stream. All right, there we go. Sometimes you have to let the second child runner take turns. They rarely ever let that motherfucker do it, but sometimes they would do it because the snake pit be like, oh, go back out. I want him to do it because they were tired of seeing my ass. So we would really just walk out and then walk back in. He would leave the front and do the report. They literally got so tired of seeing my ass. They let the second child runner do it, and I forgot. Oh no, he was mumbling. He was mumbling the report. And I was like, nigga, you see me do this shit 3 times a fucking day for the past week. You still don't know the fucking report. That's what I was saying in my head. I was like, damn, like this nigga is fumbling. Probably because he just been fucking standing there for the whole time. That's all he did. He just stuck his stand there and look at me. Do a report. He knew to walk out. That's literally that's all he did. So when it was his time to take the report, they were like, you mumbling now. That's what he was like, oh, you mumbling now. Oh, you must think you're Quavo. He said some rapper's name. He said some rapper's name, bro. And I laughed, bro. I laughed in the formation. I felt so embarrassed because I was like, I laugh because you always have to keep your military bearing. So first I broke my military bearing, and then I laughed at my battle buddy. And even though we all fought with each other, I laughed at my buddy, but it was just so fucking funny what he said. He was like, "Oh, you must think you Quavo, or you mumbling shit, you stuttering shit. You must think you little baby or something." He said some rapper's name, and I laughed, bro. And they're like, "Oh," they turned to me. They're like, "Oh, this nigga, you got this guy over here, Cave Kid Mills Head Bearing." That's all they said to me. I swear to God, that's all they said to me. They said, "Hey, Mills Head Bearing." And then I shut the fuck up. I stopped laughing. If it was any other person, they would have lit that motherfucker up. They would have lit that motherfucker up. When they go in on people, they go in on them for 2 to 3 minutes. They yell at them for a long ass time. When it comes to me, bro, they be letting me a quick second, fix me up, and then they stop yelling at me. That's how long I did that shit, and that's how long they fucked with me. Because they knew I was the sharpest one. I was so good. It was not only that, I was so good at trial running, bro. The military rules and standards were so fucking easy to remember. But apparently, it was one day, they were testing the airmen of the regulations of the Air Force and standards of the procedure. There we go. The procedures of a cold blue. And a cold blue is when someone passes out on the field during physical training, and they have to evacuate the whole area. And then yell cold blue. All the airmen have to pack up their shit and quickly exit the physical training area so a helicopter could come through and land. And I still remember cold blue. Like, it was that easy. And I think I read it like 2 or 3 days before. So it was literally fresh in my mind. So I was like, and he was like, Airman Masana. No, he asked the first airman that day. He was like, Airman blah 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 Williams. Like they don't ask me anymore. They don't ask me questions shit like that. They always want to pick on the second airman because I was that clean. It was like, Airman Williams, what is a cold blue? I said, no, he said, I don't know. That's what he said. So, Sir, Trainee Williams reports his order. I don't know what a cold blue is. That's what he said. And they were like, oh, you don't know what cold blue is? You don't know what cold blue is? No one in flight spoke up. No one in flight said it first. It took me like five seconds, and then I answered. There's no one in flight said anything. I said, yeah, I know what it is, because I really didn't want to report it. And my MTO was like, so you let them get on your bad buddy. That's what MTO said. He was like, he didn't even yell. You let them get on your bad buddy for what a cold blue is. And you didn't say nothing. I said, sir, I didn't want to overstep, but they were yelling at him. I didn't want them to yell at me. That's all I said. He was like, all right, go back in there and tell them what cold blue is. And I was scared shitless going walk back in. I was like, I hope I get this shit right, cause nigga, if I get this shit wrong, it would have been an embarrassment to my flight, and my whole flight would probably have to run laps. And then I walked up there. I was like, oh, yeah, cold blue is when someone passes out on the fucking PT patio and a helicopter comes. He was like, oh, you know what it is. I was like, yeah. He was like, why didn't the fuck he didn't say that last time? I was like, nigga, stop asking that question, cause you were yelling at him. I'm not gonna talk over you when you yell. I seen someone talk over MTI yelling and they got their ass lit up. So what do you think I'm gonna fucking do? Not say shit. So I told him, I was like, I did what's like over you. He was like, you were the only trainee for the past 2 days out of, I don't know how many flights were there. 12 flights, I think there were. 12 flights that didn't know what a cold blue was. You were the only airman for the past 2 days. I was like, yeah, I've been studying. And that answer right there, when I said that, their eyes lit up. They're like, oh, you've been studying. I was like, oh, fuck, I should have said that. I shouldn't have said that. And then I was like, I shouldn't have said that. So, fuck. He was like, oh, perfect. So give me a solution. What do you think everybody should do? I was like, oh. I thought I just said what first came to mind. I was like, we can practice the cold blue tomorrow. And then, and when he heard that answer, he was like, I'm gonna have you as a fucking MTI one day. And then he was like, get your fucking flight in this fucking lunch, and you get extra minutes. I was like, oh, look at that. And my MTI was like so proud. He was like, after that, he got I think after that, he got an award actually. He got an award. I think he made a rope. I think he got a blue rope because my flight was always the cleanest. I was always the best at reporting, and I was the only airman that knew what a cold blue was, meaning our flight was the only knowledgeable ones. So I think that right there, because he told me, he was like, that right there, they expected my flight to be the best. They wanted other flights to beat our flight at being the best at trial running. But our flight was so hard to beat at trial running and knowledge-wise, because I knew what certain regulations were. They always said to me, I always knew the shit. Well, we were always put at the top. And he got an award for it. So the next day, they actually did the cold blue. And then I was like so worried, because I was the only trainee at BMT that knew this shit was about to go down. I was like, oh shit, it's about to go down. And I couldn't tell anyone in the flight. I think I told I told 2 people who I was closest with, and I knew they weren't gonna say shit. I was like, these niggas aren't gonna say shit. I'm just gonna tell them so they know. I told them, hey, cold blue's about to happen today. You better know what it is before we get out there. He was like, all right, bet. So they said they knew what it was. And then we got out there. And I'll tell you, the exercise, I'm not gonna lie, that shit was dope as fuck. It didn't even have it, like when they said cold blue, we were doing something. I think we were doing like push-ups or something like that. I was like, oh shit, it's happening. I look at my NTI, but NTI looked at me. He smiled. He said, I said, all right. I was like, hey, everybody pack up, because no one knew. Only our flight knew. So I was like, everybody pack up, get your towels, get your wobbles, and quickly, not running, but quickly head back to your dorms. And then the flight did exactly what I said, because I only knew what it was. And so we all picked up. We quickly ran back to our dorms. Quickly ran. Not quickly ran, but a fast walk, whatever you want to say. So we get back to the dorms, and then we start noticing other flights doing the same shit. Other MTRs is looking at our flight like what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? My flight not doing this shit. So other flights, like, they slowly start to copy our flight. And I look back at the final time. I kid you not. I look back at the final time as everybody was entering the doors. I'm MTI. He was standing right there, and they actually brought a fucking helicopter in. They actually brought a helicopter in. I look at my MTI, and he just smiled at me. He just said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, you did this." I said, "I knew. I got you, sir. Hey, nigga, I got you. I got you. Quiz me on anything, nigga. I got you." And after that, he got an award, and he made rope. He made rope. He got a higher rope, so he was held at a higher standard. It's like make a rank in military. It was a very big deal. Make it a different rope, a different color rope. So he always thanked for that shit. He was like, "Nigga, you're so great." I was like, "Yes." I kid you not. I kid all the days I am bullshitting. That's what really happened. That is a true story. That is a true story. After that, our flight was named the best out of the whole time there. How are you? I'm good. How are you? How are you, Emmy? How are you, Emmy? All right, let's get to these would you rather debates. Ah, fuck, I missed BMT. All right. Yeah, how are you, Emmy? All right, first, would you rather? I see here, would you rather live on a boat or live in a treehouse? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. The ocean is so fucking massive. The ocean is so fucking massive. I would never live in a fucking ocean in my life. If I have to live on a boat, I mean, I guess the Navy's the same. If we want to talk about military-wise, the Navy's the same. You live on a boat the fucking time. But the ocean is so fucking massive. Anything could happen at any given moment. You could be struck by lightning. Your boat could fucking flip over because of a 16-foot wave off the stream. I stream nearly every day. Nearly every day. 16-foot waves can fucking sweep your boat. Nigga, I'm not living in the fucking ocean. I'm not living in the fucking ocean. It's crazy because NASA had only discovered 5% or less. I think it's less than 5% of the ocean, entire ocean. That's how big the ocean is. If you really put that shit into perspective, no one in their right mind will live on a boat. Have you started earning yet for streams? No, I haven't. I'm trying to get there. Yeah, no one has ever. Have you ever heard the stories? I'm sorry, my mind goes everywhere. Have you ever heard the stories of people stranded in the ocean for days on end? Like, that's what I think will happen on a boat. Like, I ain't being stranded for days. Not even days. I'm living there, so it'll be years I believe on this fucking boat. And all I know is the fucking ocean. Like, hell no, bro. In a treehouse, you already know the animals around you. In a treehouse is a lot easier because you know the animals around you. You know the times they sleep. You know the times they wake up. You know the times they gather harder together. You know the times they migrate. You know the times they rest at and their resting points and their water points. It is so easily attainable to get kills and water and shit like that. Rather than on a boat, you barely get that shit. All you got is fucking fish for the rest of your life. And being cold for the rest of your life. Because the water is cold. No matter what. No matter where you go. Here in Guam, the water is actually fucking warm as hell. But out in the ocean, the water is actually cold as fuck. And then at night, bro, have you seen the ocean at night? Have you guys seen the ocean at night? That's why I say I will rather live in a fucking treehouse. I cannot live in the ocean, bro. Living on a boat for the rest of my life will be mad. I'm not gonna lie. Hold on. Nighttime. Ocean. Bro, it is scary black. Literally. Hold on. This is how it looks. That is an accurate picture of what it looks like at night. I would know because I live in fucking Guam, and I see the fucking ocean every single day. This is what it really looks like. If you actually get a good moon, this is what it will look like. If there is a moon, sure you may get a one strand, but if there's no clouds, everything else is pitch black. Pitch black. That's why I say this is like more accurate. It's really going to look like facing away from the moon. Facing away from the moon, this would, or something like this. Nigga, the ocean is scary. It is scary, dog, bro. And I guess you could say the same thing about woods, but I feel like if I get a fire going, then I'll be good. Cause it's some form of light. That illuminate for, I'll say, about a mile. Right. Like something like this. Yeah, this shit is not accurate at all. Unless it is. I ain't never seen a moon that fucking big, and I've seen a big ass moon before. Or yeah, imagine you're on a boat and you hit a fucking iceberg because it is pitch black. Because it is so pitch black. Imagine hitting fucking this iceberg in the middle of the night right here. Yeah, no. I would much rather live in the ocean. I mean, oh my god. I would much rather live in a treehouse. All right. Would you rather have super real dreams forever or never dream again? That is a tough one. Because then you gotta think about how weird are these fucking dreams. Because you putting super in front of it, weird. You putting in super. A super weird dreams? Okay. I don't know about that. I hate weird dreams in general. And then having them forever? Yeah, no. Let me just take, let me go ahead and take never dream again. Because never dream again is like a cheat code. If you really think about it. You close your eyes, you wake up, and then it is like 8 hours past. Cool. I can't dream it. I can't dream. I just know I'm going to wake up the next day. I'm not having no fucking super weird dreams, bro. Oh, no. I remember one dream, bro. Where was I? I was in a basement. I was locked up in the basement. This gonna sound super weird, but I was locked up in a basement. Some nigga kept me hostage. Hostile. I wasn't, I know what you think. I wasn't, forcibly doing anything. I was just locked up and I couldn't get out. And every time I tried to get out, like the nigga would just like tase me and some shit like that. And then like dreams are weirdly feel fucking real. Besides, everything. If a nigga stabs you, a nigga shoots you, a nigga tase you, all that shit fucking feels real as hell. What's a fucking dream? I shouldn't feel anything. But yeah, every time I escaped, he just fucking tased me. It was like an endless cycle of being tased. I felt like I was in a fucking genjutsu, bro. It was fucking weird as hell. I was like, oh no, like I gotta get the fuck out of here. I was honestly panicking. Have you seen that movie, The Black Phone? That's what it really felt. That's what the vibes it was. That's what I was imagining. That's what the vibe I was getting. That's what I was really set in. There's a room, a bed. I was trying to get out the door. Every time I went to the door, he was there to taste me. It was the fucking. Honestly, I get pissed now when you explain the story. Cause why the fuck he tastes me that many times? And then once I actually found out it was a fucking dream, bro, I was like, just wake up. And it took me a long time to find out I was in a dream. Because once you're in a dream, you don't know you're a dream. You have to like go into your dream knowing it's a dream, and I feel like that takes time and skill to learn. But it took me a long time to figure out I was a dream. I was like, oh, this not real. Wake up, and I just woke up. And then the other time, I had a girl over. I had a girl over, bro. I having some dream. I was in war. That's what it was. It was starting to talk about war, and this was like last year. We always talk about war every fucking year. And then I was at war. And I was like fighting for my life. I was like punching a nigga, boom, boom, boom. I was really trying to fight for my life. And again, everything felt fucking real. And in the dream, your fucking punches feel like fucking pillows because you're not really like swinging, right? So that's why it feels like pillows. That's the actual reason why it feels like pillows. You're not actually swinging. It's not full force. So I'm like, damn, this shit not working. This shit not working. So I tried my hardest. I tried the biggest swing of my fucking life in that dream. I went out wide. I said, "Ooh!" across that nigga's face. And at that contact, I woke up mid sleep, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I hit that bitch. I hit the girl in the face. I'm not gonna hold you, bro. I hit her in the face. And she just like, chill. What the fuck are you doing? I was like, I'm sorry. I had a weird dream. I was sorry for my life. I don't know why I woke up at that point. I know it seemed like I hated you, but I tell you, I was just in a dream, and I woke up at the worst time, and I couldn't stop the punch. And she was like, what the fuck? Like, and this is the girl like I met like 2 days before. I'm not gonna hold you. Yeah, she didn't text back. What other weird dreams I had? I had a lot of weird dreams, but most of my dreams, they're not like super weird. Most of them are great movie ideas. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I like have a dream, I'm like, damn, that's a great movie idea. Like if that someone actually put their mind to it, she would be profitable. All right. Let's see. Would you rather get a kiss every day or a hug every day? That's a bad one. Oh, would you rather have separate bedrooms or share a bedroom with your partner? I know this means say simple, but it's a would you rather. So these are all for like the rest of your life type of deal. So would you rather have separate bedrooms for the rest of your life with your partner or share a bedroom for the rest of your life with your partner? I'm sure someone has done that before. Share a bedroom with a partner for the rest of their life. But for me, I'm a lone wolf, nigga. I operate alone. I don't need no one. I can survive on myself. That's how I am. Even relationships. That's why I'm not in a relationship now. Because every time I get a relationship, bro, I like freak myself out. I'm like, damn, like I gotta start caring for this bitch. That sounds horrible. Damn. Wait, don't edit that. That sounds horrible. But that's how I fucking feel. I'm like, I have to take care of her. I have to waste my time. I'm gonna really say that. I have to waste my time with this girl that I don't even like that. I have to waste all my money on this girl. It's just like, for me, at this stage of life, I'll say, I like operate alone. It is how I roll. Even with the girlfriend. Yeah, even with the girlfriend I even said, like, hey, I'm gonna need some time for myself. Like, for real. That's just how I always am. Like, I need to separate myself. And especially if you're arguing with the bitch, no, you have to go to the other bedroom. I'm sorry, I'm not sleeping there tonight. I'm not. Because if I go to bed pissed and you right next to me, bro, I'll probably have another dream of swing at you. For real. So definitely separate bedrooms for the rest of my life. Separate bedrooms, because we can always meet up. It's not like I won't ever get, you know what, the PU word. Because we can just do that shit in the living room. I can go to your room for like 1 minute. I'll be done in 1 minute. And now I can go to my room and play video games. Nigga, think about that shit. Nigga, I can hang with the boys forever in a separate bedroom. I could play games for the separate bedroom. I could stream in my separate bedroom. Like, I don't have to worry about anything because it's my room. It's my room. I can design it however I fucking want. Yeah, give me that. Yeah. Give me that. Oh my god. Give me that separate bedroom. All right. What's the next one? Would you rather marry the person of your dreams or have the career of your dreams? I'm not gonna lie, give me the fucking career of the dreams. Fuck marry the person of your dreams. Cause like I said before, you gotta waste all your time and money and energy on that person. If I have the career of my dreams, bro, think about that shit. You're doing a career that you love so much that you will probably excel. Most niggas who have jobs right now are not really operating at 100%. They're not excelling at shit. I will say that because I'm even doing it myself. I'm in the military. I fucking hate the job I'm doing right now. I'm not really excelling at anything. It's only because you're not interested in that topic or of that subject or that niche. If you're not interested, why the fuck are you there? I can't leave. I'll go to jail. But if you're in the civilian world, why the fuck are you still there? If you truly don't like the job you're doing right now, why the fuck are you there? You should do what you love. I will always say this. And there may be some times where people actually have to just pick up a job to provide for family. I totally do get that. But this is why I say you start with a bang. You start early. I know I was saying that I didn't start early because I was not going to college. So I had to pick something. I picked military and I can't get out of it now. But if my life restarted knowing the knowledge I have now, I probably would have done streaming or YouTube. Something. I like media. I like entertainment. I probably would have done that. You will most definitely have a higher chance of excelling in a job that you really love. Because you will want to know everything about that job. You will want to know every little secret, every little trade, everything, bro. And then it becomes more enjoyable. You know, it's like me streaming. Like I love streaming, and I love riding fast. I have a motorcycle. I used to have a fast car. Now I don't because I have a motorcycle now. But it was either streaming or racing. Either one. You can get rich at any fucking job. I'm not gonna lie. You can even get rich at fucking McDonald's. If you really like working at fucking McDonald's, go work at fucking HR. Most people who are stuck are motherfuckers who want to stay in low branches. No, bitch. Go to corporate. Go to HR. Go all the way up. Don't go to fucking little company. You can get rich at any job, bro. For real, just gotta find avenues and opportunities. Man, I would really love to become a racer. Now thinking about it. Why the fuck I'm in the military? Oh, I'm doing streaming, so I guess I'm halfway there. Ooh. Would you rather your mind staying young forever or your body? Would you rather have your mind stay young forever or your body? Okay. Wait. Think about this. Your mind or your body? Your mind or body? I'm not gonna lie. Body. I'm not gonna lie, body. If you choose your mind, you're stupid. you're stupid. Your mind doesn't even grow like that. For real. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. You hear at age 35, then you start getting mature. Sure. But you can be way mature at 18-year-olds. I see a lot of 18-year-olds who are way more mature than adults nowadays. I see 18-year-olds who fucking take care of 4 kids because both their parents died at 18. And they're mature as hell. Right? So that's just the saying. Right? If you have your body, bro, you're immortal. Think about it. You could lose your whole brain and still function. I heard a guy, he lose half his fucking brain and was still functioning. I heard a guy that lost like 90% of his brain and he was still functioning. If I just need my other organs to stay alive for the rest of the time on Earth, that's all. You could be immortal forever. You could be immortal forever. Your mind is really, it's really not a necessity. I mean, sure it is to actually function your fingers, shit like that. But is it a necessity to stay young? It's really not. It could get old as hell. Fucking Steve Hawking was old as shit. And he was still the smartest fucking person in the world. Steve Jobs is still this old as shit, still a fucking multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever. You could be old with the old mind and still function and do a lot of things. I'd rather have my body stay young, bro. My mind can grow. I don't give a fuck. It could be old. As long as I'm still on this fucking earth, I'll probably have all the fucking knowledge. Yeah, let me go ahead and choose mine, bro. Oh, speaking of mine, this is a good one. Would you rather have photographic memory? Not my dog. Photographic memory or the ability to read minds? I think about this. Photographic memory or the ability to read minds? I'm not gonna lie, photographic memory. I think that's the easy one. Definitely photographic memory. The ability to read minds, you're not gonna do shit with it. You're not gonna do shit with it. If you really think about it, what are you gonna use that shit for? Poker, get millions? Sure. Find out if the girl likes you? Sure. It's a 50-50, but sure. If I have photographic memory, bro, I can remember blueprints. I can remember streets. I can remember routines. I can remember how to read a fucking what's it called? A medical book. Architecture book. History books. Bro, I literally have a cheat code. If I have a photographic memory, I literally remember it, and then I dissect what I learned or what I remembered, and then fully go with the plan. You know what I'm saying? If you have the ability to meet Ryan, you just reading their mind. You just gonna know what they're fucking do. But if I have photographic memory, I can remember so many fucking blueprints, bro. I'd be so rich. That's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna do. Remember blueprints. Or if I want to be a scammer, I can just like remember someone's fucking debit card number, credit card number. Or I can follow someone's fucking routine. If I was a really bad person. If you are fucking reading minds, you're gonna be a dirty ass person. I'm not gonna lie. You could be dirty. I know why you picking that. You can be a dirty ass motherfucker. But no. If I really want to be a bad guy, I can like really like, okay, he goes into work at this time. He leaves the door open at that time. All right, he goes to lunch break at this time frame. So the best time to rob a bank is when he's going to the bathroom at so-and-so time, or going to lunch at so-and-so time, or slip in at the right moment where he doesn't notice me. Like, it's such a cheat code. Or like when they do F1, right? Involves racing. Sometimes they lift up motors and you see the whole layout of the motor. You can know exactly what everything is, and then I could like cheat off of that. Yeah, that's like that's a cheat code. Photographic memory, bro. Speaking of photographic memory, librarians, bro. Like I just found out like a few days ago what a librarian, right? Librarian. Oh my gosh, a library person truly is. Like I would not expect they really do that much. Like, do you guys know what a librarian does? They're not your local. Oh, let me grab the book or help you find a book. No, they have to research every part of history that happened on Earth and get back to news stations, Department of Educations, auditors, everyone who wants to learn about a fact. They are the Google before Google. They are the human version of Google. And mind you, they don't have photographic memory. I'm sure some do, but it is so cool what a librarian does, because it's like they also hold old ass textbooks. Like I kid you not, they have a secret stash, like a vault, like a bank does. They have a secret vault that hold old ass books dating from 1700s, 1800s, and that's where they get that information from. They don't just search it on Google. They go for actually refer from the old books that they have stored, or they coordinate with other librarians to go to their library and get their books from 1804, and they read the book, and then they get back to the Fox News stations or whoever wants to learn about the fact. Probably fucking Wikipedia. That's probably why Wikipedia gets all their information. They actually get it from librarians, because they are only the only people. I can't fucking speak today. Oh my fucking god. They are the only people that is actually certified to actually hold those books. No one can hold the books. No one can keep the books. No one can buy the books. It's only the librarians that can keep the old textures. And I think that I never knew what the librarian was or what they do, but I just found out like 2 days ago what they do, and it actually interests me, bro, because it's just like, damn, like they are so important. I didn't really know they were that important. Like if Google go down today, they're the only people you will want to get their information from. Dang, that's crazy, bro. Librarians are so underrated. Probably because no one knows what the fuck they do. Sorry, I'm looking for the next one. Would you rather have to sleep? Have to? Damn. Sleep for 15 hours a day, or only be able to sleep for 2 hours a night? I think that's the easy one. Definitely 2 hours a night. Definitely. If I have to sleep for fucking 15 hours a day, bro, you would get no type of money. You get no bread. You get no bread at all. Because then your days are limited. And then you just have to go back to sleep. And the next, what, a few hours? And the next 8 hours, the next 7 hours, 6 hours, whatever. If I was able to only sleep for fucking 2 hours, bro, the amount of shit I would do in that gap of time I have, bro, I could work 2 jobs to get double the fucking money. Sure, it might come with side effects, but it says, would you rather have to sleep? So I have to sleep just for 2 hours. As it's not like I'm gonna die, but I have to sleep for 2 hours. It's just the way my body works. I'm weird. I'm the only human who can do that. And it says only be able to sleep. That's a key word. Critical thinking, key word. Be able to sleep for 2 hours. So it's not like my body's gonna give up on me. I'm only able to do that. That's my disability. But you know the amount of that's a cheat code. The amount of shit I can do and research in a matter of 2 hours is fucking crazy, bro. Fucking crazy. I work 2 jobs. I could probably work fucking 3 jobs at that point. I'll get hella money. Would you rather have a pool in your backyard or live next to the ocean? Definitely a pool in the backyard. Definitely a pool in the backyard. I would not live next to the ocean. I live right next to the ocean now. I live in fucking Guam. The ocean is surrounded. I'm surrounded by the ocean. I'm surrounded by the fucking Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is like 60 miles away from me right now, or 75 technically, 75 miles away from me right now. The deepest part of the ocean. I'm surrounded by the ocean. Bro, actually, I do support channels. All right, cool. I appreciate that, man. That's just if you promote. But yeah, I'd rather have a pool in my backyard. You know how many times? You know how many times? Okay. I'm sorry, bro. I know this shit is a scam. Yeah, please get out of here. Please get out of here. Do you know how many times I go to the ocean? And you could probably hear the ocean right now. No, you can't. Wait. I don't think you can. But yeah, it's like it's not even a mile down. It's like I could literally walk to the ocean and be there in 20 minutes right now. That's how close I live to it. But you know how many times I've been to the ocean? Being here for a year. I want you to guess. I want you to guess. I give you a hint. It is in the single digits. I can tell you right now, this off my hand. Based off of one hand. I can give you. I've been to the ocean fucking 4 times. Being in Guam for fucking a year. I've been to the ocean fucking 4 times, bro. And you guys know what Guam is? Guam is in the middle of the fucking ocean. In between Hawaii. Oh, look at that. You got it right. Yeah, it's in the middle. It's right in the smack in the middle of Hawaii and Tokyo, or Japan. Everybody says Tokyo. Hawaii and Japan. Look how clear this water is. Look how beautiful Guam is. Guam is so like it is the picture you will see in America of all the oceans you could go see and visit our little town. No, they're getting that pictures from fucking Guam, bro. Guam is literally the only island. What do they call it? The Micronesian islands are the only islands where they have the clearest waters. They're clearest water. I kid you not. I look down at my fucking feet. I see all 10 of my toes, and I see all the little fishies around my toes. I kid you not, bro. I see all these fishes, and I see the little patterns on my back, and I see all the little fins swimming around me. That's how clear the water is here. It is glass clear. But. It's like, yeah, you want to live by ocean, but you just so worked up being here. You just so job heavy. You just want to go to work. You just want to go home. So the amount of times you actually go to the ocean is not really not that much. Like I don't even go to the ocean a lot. I know motherfuckers who do. Oh, for real. There are motherfuckers who go there like nearly every fucking day. But they don't even go in the ocean. They just sit at the fucking beach, get fucking drinks, And yeah, this son of ass is watching the fucking sunset. The sunset here, oh my god. I could show you my phone, but I can look it up. It'd be a lot easier. On sunsets, bro. You haven't seen a sunset, bro. You haven't seen sunset. You have to come here to see an actual fucking sunset. This is what it looks like. This, and what's more accurate? This is not accurate. This is not what it fucking looks like. Sometimes it'd be a little blue like that. Sometimes. That's a bad sunset. Or this. Also this too. This is what the sunset looks like. And the computer's not doing it justice right now. It's really not. It's a lot more beautiful in person. But this is what it looks like in person, bro. It is so beautiful. Like if I was proposing, bro, this is like the perfect place to propose at. Real shit. Like you would not get any better sunset in your life than you would in the Micronesia Islands. Oh fuck! I went a whole rant. Oh my god, bro. Guam is so beautiful, but I fucking hate it. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I got no fucking Raising Cane's, no Chipotle. Actually, I get Cane's. I got no Chipotle or Chick-fil-A, bro. I got no Chipotle or Chick-fil-A. And I know this is 2 restaurants, bro. But those 2 restaurants is what I fucking need right now. You hear all these people coming in from the fucking States who are just PCSing in too. Oh yeah, man, I had fucking Chick-fil-A last week when I was like, damn, I can't find any on the island. We have to tell them, yeah, there's no Chick-fil-A on the island. It's like, damn, like I had that shit last week. That shit was so good. It's like, nigga, shut the fuck up. Or like, yeah, I just went home. I had me some Chipotle. I had me some Chick-fil-A. Nigga, shut the fuck up. I had that shit. I haven't had that shit in a year. And I got 2 more years on this fucking bitch. Let me not say that. I have 2 more years on this beautiful island. I'm not going back home. Oh no. Oh no. I'll look up right now how much tickets cost. I'll look up right now. It's in the thousands. I'm not spending $1,000 to go back home for fucking 1 week. Nigga, we have FaceTime. Fuck you talk about. We got FaceTime. I'm not spending $1,000 to come see your ass for a week. No. All right. If I want to leave, let's see. If I can show flights, man. Goddamn. Oh, honestly, not that bad. I swear to God, last year it was in the 3. I swear to God, last year it was like in the 3,000s. But I guess it's a little cheaper now. Oh no, it's not. No, it's not. The cheapest one I see is 1720. I'll show you. This is the lowest I ever fucking seen it. 1720 is the cheapest for a Korean. Also Korean Air. 1721. Okay, when the fuck are you ever going on a Korean airline? 0. You're not going on fucking Korea, buddy. You're picking United Airlines, or I don't know what they are. That's what you're picking. That's what I would pick. So you're really paying 1816. But I kid you not, it is a lot more than this. I could have sworn it was a lot more than this. All right, you got 5,000 right here. I believe this one's trying to. It's trying to trick you. It's really trying to trick you. Because I said that shit. I said, oh, it's expensive. Now it's trying to trick me. Talk about it. No, it's not that expensive. Nigga, it was no. Cause you was in the 3,000s and I was looking, motherfuckers. Maybe it's the time of year. All right, fuck it. Like, yeah, it ranges from 2,000 to 3,000. It really does. What the fuck is this? Oh, have it go on. Yeah, sure. But also, it's really a benefit too. Being here is really a benefit. Bro, I get to go to fucking Tokyo for $300. I get to go to the Philippines for $300. $400. Thailand, $400. $300. Australia, $400. Now, if you go to the States, it'll be thousands of dollars. But any other like countries I can visit, oh yeah, $400 easily. I don't have my passports. I haven't done it yet. But I swear to you, that's what you can do. That's what you can do. And next year, I am booking a trip to Tokyo and then Thailand. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The military is great. But the military's not great enough to put you in fucking first class. Let's talk about that shit. If we really want to support veterans, put us on first class. Tell me why I have to take a TDY. First of all, in the military, we can't take China Airlines. And in Guam, we have a lot of Chinese tourists. So we all get briefings. Oh, you can't talk to Chinese people. But they're like, oh, just be careful what you say to them. If you go on TDY, or going back home or going to some other country, you can't take at all. And it's mainly Chinese airlines too here. You can't take a Chinese airline. You just can't. You will be blacklisted. I kid you not. They will come after you so fucking fast. Yeah, I was going to fucking TDY and they were like, oh yeah, you're going to fucking United Airlines. Or no, it was like Philippines Airlines and then United. I was United first. It was one of them. Fuck it. And yeah, they put me in a fucking back of the plane, bro. They put me back in the plane. I look at my ticket. I turned to my supervisor. I look at his ticket. And it was first class. I said, oh, so y'all favoring because of ranks now. Oh no, brother. I'm going to old side right now. He said, oh, wait, chill. It's because I paid a little extra to get on first class. They were worried about it putting me in the back of the plane, but I paid extra. So I was like, where the fuck is my first class at? He said, nigga, no. You crazy. I said, you right. You right. But, it would be nice if they actually let military personnel get first class. You know how fucking good they're being treated up there? Nigga, I've been hearing stories from my other master sergeants. They're like, yeah, they giving me peanuts. I'm like, nigga, they give everybody peanuts. He's like, no, they take the whole fucking stash. Like, they encourage you to take more than one peanuts. They make you choose more than two selection of food. Drinks, you get wine, you get alcohol up there. It's not your little fucking bottle. No, it's a whole fucking glass. They pour you margaritas, shit like that. I said, what the fuck? What the fuck? And I get a fucking little bottle, and sometimes they miss me. All because I turn my head to the window. They go scoot the little ass up. Oh, let me go to the back. Let me hurry up so he doesn't see me. They do that shit every fucking time. I get pissed at it. I think it's racist. But anyway. Yeah, they get treated so well up there. I get so pissed off because I always hear stories, and I always don't think it's true. But if I hear multiple stories about it, then it has to be true. And now I need a book of first class. And I hate the military doesn't do it for you, because barely any niggas up there. It ain't no way I saw a kid the other day on a fucking first class flight, and I never got a first class in my life. That nigga should not be up there. He shouldn't have a whole fucking bed to himself. Man, get the fuck out of here. He gets a whole fucking bed to himself. 92-inch TV. All he's gonna fucking do is watch Baby Shark, nigga. Ooh, but you can't get first class veterans. I would rather them take away priority. What is it called? Skipping the line, so to say. When you first get to the flight, I'd rather them take that away and then skip us first class. I feel like that is a fair trade, brother. That is a fair trade. That is a fair trade. That's very fair. That's very fair. They should do that. I should go to Senate with that. Ooh, would you rather know when you will die or how you will die? When I die. Definitely when I die. Definitely when I die. Only because I'm thinking about myself. I feel like this is a more personal. Oh, I thought I heard someone in my house. I feel like this is a more personal question. Because, like, I personally ride a motorcycle. So, knowing that if my answer is being a motorcycle accident, I'll probably never ride again. And then I'll lose all my fucking happiness. And then I'll be depressed. You know, if I know when I'll die, right? Stay with me. I will take 3 months off. First of all, I will be disrespectful to everyone because I know about to die and know about to come for me. I'll be doing the most heinous shit ever. That is shit you will never expect him to fucking do. Actually, even not say that. I retract that. I will do legal stuff, but dabble a little bit illegal stuff. Maybe smoke a little weed in a different state. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of illegal. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Or do some shit like you wouldn't expect someone to do. Because I'm about to die, bitch. What the fuck you gonna do? Come find me? Bitch, you can find me at the cemetery. I'm only open on Wednesdays. But yeah, knowing how I die, no, I can't do that, bro. Because then you'd be paranoid. Be like, damn, I can't be around this electrical fucking wire. Or I can't be around a fucking TV. If like a TV fucking falls on my head because I'm trying to hang it up. Or I fall off a fucking ladder. I die because I cracked my skull. Now I can't ever get on a ladder again. You know, it just... And it's canon, too. So at some point, you will be on that ladder. Or you be by TV. Or you be by electrical wire. It's canon. It will happen. And once you do, it's already too late, brother. It got you. Now, when it comes to that question, also you got to think about, would you rather have more time or more money? I'm not going to lie, have more time. Have more time is the only correct answer. If you have more time, think about this. You're not staying with me. If you have more time in your life, you have more time to figure out what the shit you want to do to get the money. The money will come regardless. Whatever you do, whatever you love to do. That's all I always say. Whatever you love to do, the money will come regardless. And then you can invest that money deeper into that niche that you love. And make more money. And then make more money. I literally took a financial class the other day. And they said nearly every millionaire, every billionaire, even though they have a lot of money and they can live off the rest of their lives, it becomes a game at that level. And it makes sense too. It becomes a game where you actually have to spend millions of dollars willingly to give to your friends, to give to your family, to just do and buy random shit. That's why all these millionaires have random shit in their house, because they have to spend it. They have to be smart about their money, because they have to fall in a bracket when it comes to taxes. when it comes to those taxes, they would be taxed millions of dollars. So would you rather be taxed millions of dollars or fall under a different bracket when it comes to tax season? Don't have to spend millions of dollars to the federal government and just take that money and give it to your friends and family so they can do whatever they want, so they don't ever have to come back and ask for you for money because you already given all your money to them. You already given them all the shirts. I'd rather that happen. And that's just like one example. No, it's the game gets a lot deeper too. That's why at first I was thinking like, damn, like this nigga has 16 houses, 5 different companies, hundreds of cars. Like he just spending his fucking money. Like no, they have to spend that money. They have to spend that money. It's either them or the government will take it from them. It was like, damn, like I never do that shit. Same with companies. I think companies actually they get some credit or some money they have to spend on their business. I forget for the reason why though. Ooh. Also, money question. Would you rather be rich and hate what you do or have enough money to make ends meet and do what you love? That's a difficult question. That's a difficult question. Would you rather be rich or you rather be poor? Fuck. I'm not gonna lie, I'd rather be rich and hate what I do. That is a me thing. Personally, it is a me thing. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather hate the job I'm doing and make millions off of it. Cause I know at any given moment I can just fucking take that money and run off and you'll never hear me again. Rather than just to have enough to make ends meet. Yes, it's doing what you love, but also if you have the money, I say take that money, bro. Take that money and then do what you love. But if you want to do that, you have to be smart about it. You have to be smart about it. There's a certain way you have to move. I'll say it has to be a certain way you move. Because if I just take that money and transfer it to something I really love to do, I'll do it. But rather than make it ends meet and do what I love, bro, I am making ends meet. That's a key phrase right there. I am making just enough for the ends to meet. Even though you're doing what you love, bro, it comes to a point where mental health starts to kick in. And then once your mental health comes kicking in at the front door, and you're thinking, damn, like I can't do this anymore. I'm barely making it. I love what I'm doing. Then it starts to affect the way that you move. It starts to affect the way your hobby is. I know because I've been there constantly. Currently going through right now. I'm loving this. Love streaming. Actually, I'm not even making ends meet. If I'm really smart about money, I could save and not make it meet. But it was getting to a point in my early career where I didn't know how to manage my money, where I was just making ends meet. I was literally surviving on $100 in 2 weeks because I was making poor decisions. And it was actually when I enjoyed my job. And it came to like a mental thing. It really became a mental battle. It was like, I have to find another job, or I have to find money. I have to find money. I have to find money. If I don't find money, I will fail. Or like I will, So I'd rather be rich. Ooh. Would you rather? Listen up. Would you rather travel back in time to meet your ancestors or travel forward in time to meet your descendants? If you think about it, I'd rather travel forward. I'd rather travel forward in time. The only reason I'm picking travel forward in time, what time is it? Is because if I travel back in time to meet my ancestors, boy, I will be getting like confused. I'm like, what the fuck are you holding? Or like, oh, this is how we cut grass. Or like, or I can't even travel back in time to my ancestors at all anyway. I'll probably be fucking hung. I'm just being truthful. I don't know if that's TOS or not. But if I travel back in time to my ancestors, I better pick a good time. That's all I gotta say. I better pick a good time. So I'd rather travel forward so I can meet my descendants. So my descendants ask me questions rather than me asking them questions. Like, oh, like, great grandpa, like, how was it back in 2020? Because like, oh, nigga, you wasn't there. Nigga, 2020 was a time. 2020 was niggas was surviving by themselves. We was starving. Brother. Y'all have it all good now. But back in my day, nigga, I had to